Let's talk about the science of learning in the age of new media. But the focus is the challenge for Africa. That's the focus of this edition of the program. So I want to look at that main theme from different dimensions. The first dimension is what I have called the science of learning in the age of new media. Why did I say the science of learning? Here, I'm going to use nature to make some statements. We are in the age of information outburst. If you go online now, almost everyone is a content producer. Everyone has got something to say. If you go on X, you go on Instagram, on Facebook, we are talking, we are negotiating. There's a lot of information that if you are not careful, you will be lost in the express road of information. I call it information outburst. And sometime in the outburst, you would find in-depth media outcomes. And in-depth media outcomes is necessary for national development. As we talk about outburst of information, you would also realize that millions are consuming the information. So I can say there is that online hunger for information. And this has opened the media of the future to the advantage or disadvantage of misinformation. Why advantage or disadvantage? It depends on where you are coming from. To the man who is misinforming, he hopes to gain some advantages. For the one who has been misinformed, he has fallen to the disadvantages of misinformation. It is an all-comers affair. And when it's an all-comers affair, it renders unedited narratives. Are you with me? Raw in form, as caustic as ever. There's a lot of insult online. There's a lot of attacks. It is caustic. But you imagine a world without phones, without television, radio, newspaper, and social media. What would the world be like? Would you enjoy such a world? The distances will be obvious, and it will look as if man has returned to its primitive state. Would that be possible? That will return to the primitive state. No phones, no television. It is due to the innovative mindset of man that society continues to witness creations to better the person, the society. So with these platforms of communication, the world becomes a small place as borders are broken with fast-speed internet, causing cultures to clash in ways never seen before. As the 21st century flattens the world rapidly, media power becomes decentralized as citizens tell their stories and debate the quality of messages. That is why it is an engaging word. Let's engage. I'm engaging your thoughts on this edition of the program. Engage me too by leaving your comments or by even calling in. The word has never been this engaging. It is information tsunami. It is looking like the world is troubled by the truth and lies in information. For African states like Nigeria, the danger is in giving information to citizens who are not learned enough to analyze them. Holding government accountable in this system becomes a long-winded struggle, but it can be sudden. Look at this. The political elite in Africa, the political elite in Nigeria are destroying the education system to ensure that the citizens are denied the knowledge of the science of learning. How? Learning leads to understanding. Those who take time to study events and places end up telling the world the direction to go. That is why the world called them deep thinkers, philosophers, innovators. This form of learning is seen in the study of certain lions in the heart of nature. See, those who lead the world are those who think ahead. They study everything. And that is what gave Europe the push to overtake the rest of the world and dominate it. And when I say Europe, I mean the West, including America. Let's look at the study of nature and make some meanings from the narrative. I want to talk about the Mapogo Lion Coalition. I've always been fascinated by lions. So in June, I went to one of the biggest game parks in the world. That is the Masai Mara in Kenya. I saw elephants. But I wanted to see a pride of lions. I wanted to be able to see the pride of lions from a close range. Having read about the Mapogo Lion Coalition, I wanted to see how a pride of lion behave. Luckily, we ran into a pride of lion. And it created a picture of the Mapogo Coalition that I have studied repeatedly. Come with me. The Mapogo Lion Coalition roamed the Kruger Park in South Africa. While they moved, they killed and took over prides with ruthless precision. They were brutal. The Sabine Sand region of the park was their fortress. They were a band of 6 lions, infamous for their brutality and strength. Makulu was their leader. To take over Pride, they killed in excess of 100 lions and cubs. They preyed on lions. They were a mega Pride male lion coalition. By sticking together, they increased their survival chances. Have you learned any lesson from that? By sticking together, they increased their survival chances. It's a rule of life. Cooperation gives society the best. Cooperation brings beauty to relationships. Take note of that. At this level of Africa's development, we need intense cooperation, not competition. I am looking at the Mapogo Lion Coalition. A pride, a mega pride for that of male lions. While they were growing up, they learned cooperation. The 16 years put into studying and documenting them is the purpose of the science of learning. Some group of scientists put in 16 years to study them. It's about learning. In Africa, do we study our problems to solve them? Remember, the title of this broadcast is The Challenge for Africa. The Mapogo Lions has brought us to Africa. Indoctrinating the citizens in the science of learning remains a challenge in Nigeria, in Kenya, in Ghana, in Africa. So if you go on social media at the moment, African social media, I'm not talking about America's social media, Nigeria's social media to be precise, comedy dominates popular culture. For underdeveloped states, comedy comes with a blanket to cover their tragedies. You get me? There is problem, there is pain, but they have to laugh to forget their tragedies. The problem is not the comedy. The problem is the laughter that leads to the forgetting of their tragedies. If they laughed and are awakened to solving their tragedies, then it becomes comedy for national development. What do you think? I'm raising some points. As they laugh, harder times await them. As more of their brothers take to the profession of comedy, their tragedies continue to rise. The problem is not comedy. The problem is the consumer of comedy. But the subject is not comedy. You know, this is a political class, and I am reflecting. This is the reflection of Edmondo Pillow, the radio man. Reflect with me. And I'm happy you're here. It is my time to reflect. I'm on duty. So welcome to the class of politics and power, the class of reason, of history. Yes. This is not to say that comedy has no therapeutic effect. I've made that point. I'm only trying to find out why the Delegiwas could not stop the rot despite the eye-opening investigative stories. So I have come in with another dimension to the subject. That despite the outbursts, the influx of comedy, men engaged even in investigative stories and other forms of hard intellection are yet to solve the tragedies. Then the problem must be the African. Are you with me? Yes. Have you asked why we cannot build our societies to the standard of South Korea or Singapore, even when we started the race for development at the same time? Have you asked? Ask yourself. So when I'm talking, I'm not talking to Tinubu alone. Neither am I talking to Nana Akufo-Addo alone. I'm also talking to myself, Edmondo Pillow. I'm talking to you. Yes, you. Yes, I'm talking to you. It is time we began to ask deep questions. Remember the question: why are we not building our societies to the standard of South Korea or Singapore? It is also because our education is geared towards regurgitation or cramming, not thinking. 1 + 1, 2, 2 + 2, 4, 3 + 3, 6, 4 + 4, 8, 5 + 5, 9, ONE 1, TWO 2. 4 + 4, 8. How? Can 4 + 4 be 10? Questions. To every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Newton's law. How? I love teaching. Teaching is my first love. As a youth corps member, I was quite active in Orientation Broadcasting Service, OBS. In fact, that was where I developed my love for broadcasting. They saw how passionate I was in disseminating information on camp, and they wanted to post me to either NTA, Radio Nigeria in Ibadan. When I got wind of that information, I somewhat ran to somebody I knew. I said, no, post me to a secondary school. I want to teach. And this was a time youth corps members were running away from teaching. I wanted to teach. Somehow I found my way into St. Louis Grammar School. And I had the opportunity to teach physics. So I asked the student, When a ball gets to the maximum height, the velocity is equals to what? All hands were up. Sir, sir, sir. I said, okay. You tell me. They said velocity is 0. Now, when the ball gets to the maximum height, that the velocity is 0. Okay. That is at maximum height, v is equals 0. I say, yes, you are right. You're right. Hey, you, Ogochukwu, how? The class went quiet. They know that v is 0. I said, how? Explain. No, none of them could. Okay? That is one of the problems of learning in Africa. So I told them, it is simple. This is why it is 0. Velocity means for a body to have a velocity that is above 0, it simply means the body is moving. That means it has speed. If it is moving, it has speed. So by the time a ball gets to the maximum height, when you throw anything up, it gets to a point, it begins to come down. That point it gets to before it begins to come down is known as maximum height. So when the object gets to the maximum height, before it begins to come down, it will rest. It's like when you run to a wall, for you to turn, there's that momentary stop for you to turn. At that point where you stopped, where the object stops, that is called maximum height. At that point, it is not moving. That is why at maximum height, velocity is 0. And they said, And these were SX3 students. I used this narrative to explain the way we learn in Africa. Yes. The theme of this class is the challenge for Africa. And we are working into it. So I have made the point that our education is not geared towards thinking. And that is the reason we are in the lead in borrowing everything foreign, buying everything produced outside. We can't produce. Because for you to produce, you must be thinking. For you to invent cars, you must be thinking. You must be developing theories. We are not producers, we are mainly consumers. Even our main religions are borrowed. Our institutions are designed to look like theirs. Yet we are who we are. We like good hospitals, yet we cannot build and maintain them. We prefer the one in London. That is why Buhari was always in London as president for medical care. As a president who had all the structures to build a modern, advanced medical facilities for his people. He didn't have the thinking power. The thinking power to know that it was essential for the survival of his people. So he would take the easy way out. Let me go to London. Like Tinubu would go to France. Right? And UCH is collapsing. It is about the mind. It's about thinking. Are you with me? Our institutions are designed to look like theirs. University of Ibadan can wait. We are on our way to Harvard, Oxford, Cambridge. It has become the in thing now. On the grounds that Nigeria is failing, every parent wants their children to school abroad. What do they bring home after schooling abroad? They don't even come home. The more they school abroad, the poorer the country becomes. There's something also wrong with that. You could see, if it is China, they would go learn. About half of them will go home to go and exert that knowledge in China. And you can see China is competing with America. For Africa, it's a thing of prestige. Oh, my son is in London. Oh, my daughter lives in the US. It's a form of prestige. They are not asking, what is my daughter contributing to the development of Africa? There's nothing wrong in going in search of knowledge. Knowledge for what? Are we improving Africa? Ask yourself. The word in the mouth of everyone now is Japa, Japa. You even seen bank managers are Japa-ing. I'm saying, what is their problem? What do they want? Somebody earning about 2.5 million feels things are still bad and they want to leave. Who will solve the problems of Africa? It's about the mind. We dream big and do little. It is true that the elite political class has taken advantage of this condition to ride roughshod on the people. But there is a trend that shows that the science of learning has come alive as champions of a progressive future find spaces in an expanded media system. But there are still few of them. I see them and they give me hope. I call them champions because they have acquired the temerity to navigate the ship of hope. However, we are on the road to the red line. The state will produce accountable leadership when those plotting to shrink the media space come in frontal confrontation with those who insist on media freedom. This is not a fight for the traditional media that is gasping for bread. There is a quiet, ongoing movement for a future of hope. It might appear leaderless at the moment, but it will lead Africa to advancement. Hello. It is State Affairs with the radio man, Edmondo Pillow. The theme is the challenge for Africa.